Alright, good day viewers, how are you today? I hope you are ready for today's lecture. Today I'll be taking you a topic known as business organization, and that is a topic in economics. Business organization. I know you must have been hearing about business, but today we want to look at all it entails. Now, this topic comprises of sole proprietorship, partnership, private limited company, public limited company, public corporation, and cooperative society. So we'll be taking them one after the other, and I know that as soon as you are done with the lecture, you'll be to check that you can answer any question that comes on your way. Now, I'll start with the first one, which is sole proprietorship. Sole proprietorship. Now, a sole proprietorship is what we commonly call a one-man business. A sole proprietorship is a business organization owned, managed, and financed by one person with the aim of making profits and satisfying human wants. So it is owned, managed, financed by one person with the aim of making profits and satisfying human wants. Now we'll look at the features of the sole proprietorship. Features. Number one, it is owned by one person. It is owned by one person. The ownership is owned by one person. Two, its objective is to make profits. Its objective is to make profits. Three, it has unlimited liability. It has unlimited liability. Now, what do you mean by unlimited liability? Unlimited liability means that the debt is not limited to the amount of capital that he has contributed. That means if there's any debt, he will not only lose the capital, he will also lose everything. He will also lose beyond the capital. So it has what? Unlimited liability. Therefore, it is not a legal entity. It is not a legal entity. It is not a legal entity. What does that mean? It means that it can sue and it cannot sue. That is, when you say a legal entity, it means that you can sue and be sued. But in this case, it is not a legal entity. That means the business is not different from the owner. Unlike the limited liability company where the business is different from the owner. But in this case, the business is not different from the owner, so he cannot sue and be sued. If you get him, the business suffers. If you get the business, he suffers. So it is not a legal entity. Then number five, the capital is generated by the owner. The capital is generated by the owner. So it is whether he went to get it or not, is still his own problem. So the capital is generated by the owner. So go straight to the advantages of the sole proprietorship. Advantages of sole proprietorship. Number one, he makes all the profit alone. I like that. One, he makes the profit alone. Now he can resume and close at his will. He can resume and close at will. He resumes and closes at will. He resumes and closes at will. Then three, it is easy to establish. It does not require the formalities in which the public limited liability company go through. It is very easy to establish. Okay, number four, it is easy to manage. It's very easy to manage. You can decide to manage it without any problem. Then number five, there is quick decision taking. It does not require any bureaucracy in taking decisions. So there is very quick decision making. Alright, then we'll go straight to the disadvantage. Number one of the disadvantages. There is problem of continuity at the death of the owner. So once the owner dies, there's a problem of what? Continuity once he dies. Then 2, there's usually not enough capital. They usually have capital problem as a result of just one person that is involved in the business. 3, they have unlimited liability. That is, if there's any debt, it suffers. The liability, the debt is not limited to the amount of capital that he has contributed. You know that I told you about unlimited liability. And number 4, it's not a legal tender. It's not a legal entity rather. It means that the business cannot sue and be sued. What happens to the business affects the owner of the business as well. So it is not a very good and pleasant situation. That is one of the disadvantages of the sole proprietorship. And 5, there is no specialization. It does anything which that can bring money to him. So there's no specialization. All right. Now we'll go straight to partnership. We have looked at the sole proprietorship, we have looked at the features, and we have looked at advantages and disadvantages. We now go straight to the word partnership. And what is partnership? It's a business organization owned, managed, and financed by 2 to 20 people with the aim of making profits. Now, in the banking sector, it is limited to 2 to 10, but in the ordinary partnership business, it is limited to 2 to 20. So that type of business organization owned by 2 to 20 people with the aim of making profits is known or referred to as what? Partnership. Okay? Now, we'll go straight to the what? Features of partnership business. Features of partnership business. Number 1, it is owned by 2 to 20 persons. Owned by 2 to 20 persons. Then number 2, the finance aspect of it is contributed within the partners that are involved in the business. 3 is that it has unlimited liability, just like the sole proprietorship. And I told you that unlimited liability means that the capital is not limited to the debt is not limited to the amount of capital that has been contributed. And number 4, it is not a legal entity. I told you that legal entity means that it cannot sue and be sued, because whatever happens to the business also happens to the owner. Okay? Then number 5, the lifespan of the company or the partnership business depends on the partners that are involved in the business. We'll go straight to the advantages of partnership now. After looking at the features, we'll go straight to the advantages. Number 1, you realize that one of the advantages of the partnership business is that there's more money because of the capital that the partners that they have. There's more money in the business because they have more partners. Then number 2, there is joint decision making. There is joint decision making. Whatever you do, they're saying that 2 better heads better than 1. There is joint decision making because you can always get ideas from other people. Then number 3, there is quick decision, unlike the limited liability company where you have to meet with the board of directors and that thing. There is quick decision making compared to the other limited liability company. Then another advantage of the partnership is there is better management and there is better efficiency. So because they have enough partners that are involved in the business, there is better management and there is also better efficiency involved. Alright, now let's go straight to the disadvantages. Disadvantages of partnership. Number 1 of the disadvantages of partnership is that the death of a partner, of an active partner, can lead to the end of the business. Okay? You can also, one of the disadvantages is that they can also get involved in disagreements, and that can cause or lead to the end of the business. Another disadvantage of partnership is that it has unlimited liability. And unlimited liability means that the debt, I keep on repeating it so it stick into your head, the debt of the business is not limited to the amount of the capital that has been contributed. Then number 4, it is not a legal entity. A legal entity means that it cannot, is limited no different from the owner. Number 5 is that you need the consent of the generality of other partners and consent for you to achieve your own initiative. So your initiative or your initiation or your idea might not be acceptable if it's not, or not tellable if other partners are not in agreement with what you are saying. So it may not be agreed with by other partners, and that is a great disadvantage. We'll go straight to the next one, which is what types of partners. Alright, now we are looking at types of partners. Now we have the types of partners here. We have about 5 types of partners. We have the limited partners. Now, like on the right up, it said it's the one who has agreed to contribute certain sum of partnership business and is certain sum of partnership business and is prevented by law from taking active part in the management and administration of the business. It contributes to the partnership business, but is also prevented by law from taking part in the management and administration of the business. He just contributes his capital. Then number 2, the general partner. He has full power in participating in the conduct and management of the partner's business, and he has unlimited liability. That is the general partner. He has full power to participate in the management of the business, but he has unlimited liability. I remember I've told you severally what unlimited liability means. It means that the debt of the business, the debt is not limited to the amount of capital that has been contributed. Then 3, active partner. He takes active part in management and administration of the business. He takes active part. That's why the name is called an active partner. Then 4, nominal or passive partner. He allows only his name to be used as a result of his influence in the society, the movers and shakers of the world, of the country. It's just the Dangote of our time. So once Dangote does not need to put his money in your business. By the time people know that Dangote's name is part of your partner, what will they do? They will always want to put their resources there, because for them to realize that somebody like Bill Gates is in your business, and you of course nobody with a sense of reasoning will see such an influential person in your business and would not want to contribute into the business. So this ones allows their name to be used in part of your partners, but don't contribute the dime to the partnership business. In fact, you give them money for allowing their name to be used. Then we have the sleeping or dormant partners. It takes no part in the conduct and management of the partnership business. A sleeping partner receives no salary, but is liable for the debt of the business. Is liable for the debt of the business. So in this one, he takes no part in the conduct and management of the business. He contributes his own. He does not participate in the conduct of the business. But when there's any problem, he's also liable to it. So these are the 5 types of partners that we have: the limited partner, the general partner, the active partners, the nominal partner, and the sleeping partners. Alright? Now we go straight to the rights. The rights of partner, otherwise known as the deed of partnership. The deed of partnership is the agreement, the rules that bonds the general affairs of the partners, the rules that regulate the activities of the partner is referred to as what? The deed of partnership. But that is the rules and regulation of a partnership business. And it comprises of the following. Number 1, the name of the partner, the name of the firm, the name of the business firm. 3, the nature of the business firms. 4, the rights of each partners. 5, the signature on the check. 6, the sharing of profits and provision for drawing. 7, duration of partnership. 8, method of admission of new partners. 9, objective of the firm. Alright, these are the deeds, what contains the deed of partnership, that is the rules and regulations that guides the partnership business. So I want to believe that with these topics that we have done, the sole proprietorship and the partnership, you can do justice to any questions that you meet in your exams, and you can also answer any question that you meet. Thank you very much. Yeah, like we were saying before, we are now going to the private limited liability company. We have dealt with the sole proprietorship, we've dealt with the partnership, now we are now in the company aspect, limited liability company. Now the limited liability company comprises of the private limited liability company and the public limited liability company. The word limited means that the amount of capital that they have contributed to the business or the amount of debt will be limited to the amount of capital that they have contributed to the business. So if there's any loss in the business, what they will lose is the amount that they have contributed to the business. And that's why it's referred to as a limited liability company, which means that the amount in which they are going to lose is the amount that they have contributed to the business, unlike the sole proprietorship and the partnership business. Alright, having said that, the limited liability company is divided into two. We have the private limited liability company and the public limited liability company. Now, what is the private limited liability company? It's a limited company. It's a company in which the Act allows it not to subscribe shares to the members of the public. It cannot transfer shares to the members of the public, and it's made up of a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 50 shareholders, and they are not allowed to transfer shares to the members of the public. That's why it's called a private limited liability company. Now, the advantage of the private limited company is, 1, they have enough shareholders that can contribute in the business. 2, they can expand. 3, you realize that the bureaucracy involved is not as much as that in the public limited liability company. 4, they have access to loans. 5, they also have access to go into research, and that's the private limited liability company. But even though there's an advantage, there's also disadvantage that it follows. And what are the disadvantages? Disadvantage includes that 1, it is limited to 50. They can't go beyond the 50. 2, they cannot transfer shares to the other members of the public. 3, they are not allowed to sell shares in the stock market, and it is something as a limit as well, because their shares are not quoted in the stock exchange market. 4, you realize that they cannot sell shares without the consent of other shareholders. So there are certain disadvantages that can limit their expansion. Now we'll go straight to the public limited liability company, otherwise known as the joint stock company. And public limited liability company is a company in which its Act allows it to transfer shares to the shareholders, and they have a minimum of 7 and no maximum, but they can transfer shares to other shareholders without the consent of other shareholders. And as a result of that, it has certain advantages. The advantages include the following. Number 1, you realize there's room for expansion, almost similar to the private limited liability company. 2, you realize that they can obtain loan from the bank because of their large size. 3, there's economies of scale. Economies of scale in the sense that they can produce goods in large quantity and sell at a low price because of their large size, which is comparatively an advantage to them. And besides that, another advantage of the public limited liability company is that their shares are quoted in the stock market. You also realize that another advantage of the public limited liability company is that they can sell shares to the other, they can transfer shares to other shareholders without the consent of others, and it's also, of course, a very good advantage. Besides that, they can also generate revenue from selling shares through prospectus to the members of the public. Now, the next thing that we need to look into is how this company are formed. The first thing is that they must look for a promoter who will have to go through the procedure. A promoter is a legal person who goes into the procedures. They need the procedures on how to open the company. Now you have to get a promoter first. Then you have the documents that comprise of the Memorandum of Association, Article of Association, the Prospectus. Then you have to get your letter of incorporation and letter and certificate of trading. I'll start with what I have on the board, which is the Memorandum of Association. Now, what is the Memorandum of Association? It's a document forming the constitution of a company and defining its objective and powers with regards to its dealing with the outside world. So this is a document that it shows its constitution, it shows what all about the company is made up of and gives it to the outside world. Then after getting that available, you also need a what? An article of association. And what does it mean? An article of association is a document. It's a document which governs the internal management of the company's affairs. The duties, rights, and powers of the shareholders are stated. That is the document, the article of association. It is a document which governs the internal management of the company's affairs, their duties, the rights, and the power of the shareholders. Then number 3 is the prospectus. A prospectus is a document used by the company to allow shares. It is a document used by the company to sell shares to the members of the public. It's an invitation to the members of the public to subscribe for their shares. That document is known as what? A prospectus. Now, if all these documents have been assigned or accepted by the registrar of company, they will issue the company certificate of incorporation. Now, what is the certificate of incorporation? It's a certificate showing that the company is already a legal tender. That is, it can sue and be sued. It makes the company a limited liability company. You know, when we talk about partnership, we say it's not a limited liability company. Now, the certificate of incorporation is a field that confers the legal status of the company so that it can now have a legal status, that it is now unique, is different from the person. So if you want to sue the company, the owner of the company doesn't have a business with you. So it's now a legal tender, and that is why it's giving a certificate of incorporation, showing now that it's now a legal tender. And in this case, the private limited company can commence business after it has been issued with the certificate of incorporation. That is to say, you can start business. Now, the certificate of trading is another document that is needed by the public limited liability company. Now, having given all these documents, the public limited liability company cannot commence business until it has been issued with the certificate of trading. Now, the certificate of trading is the document that confers the public limited liability company, otherwise known as the joint stock company, to start or to commence business. And that's why it's known as the certificate of trading. Mind you, the private limited liability company can commence business without a certificate of trading, but this public limited liability company cannot commence business until the certificate of trading has been given to him, or to it rather. So in that case, that's the private and the public limited liability company. Now we are done with this ones. Now we'll go straight to public corporation. Now, what's a public corporation? A public corporation, otherwise known as a public enterprise, is a business owned, managed, and financed by the government with the aim of providing essential services. Now, there is a non-profit organization. They are not interested in making profits. They are just owned, financed, managed by the government, controlled by the board of directors with the aim of rendering services. It is a non-profit organization. Such is known as a public corporation, otherwise known as the public enterprise. A very good example is Nigeria Railway Corporation. Every business organization that is owned by the government without making profit, they are centered and not making profit, but ensuring that they provide essential services is what we call the public corporation. Now, advantage of this public corporation is what it ensures the welfare of the citizen, it increases the standard of living, it ensures equity among the citizen, it makes sure that everybody are enjoying the benefits, it provides social infrastructures, and so on and so forth. But what about the disadvantage is that one, there's no competition. And you realize that it can also, one way or the other, encourage laziness. 3, you also realize that what it may not encourage, there's a lot of bureaucracy. You just realize that before you want to get something, you will not be able to meet with the government because of the bureaucracy that is involved. And besides that, one disadvantage of it is that there's a lot of corruption and embezzlement. A lot of people just get involved and they say it's not their business and they just do whatever they wish to do. And as a result of that, you notice most of our infrastructures is just dying down without anybody fixing it. And that's a problem about the public corporation, because it is usually not a non-profit organization and government eyes cannot be everywhere at the same time. Alright, lastly, we go straight to the word cooperative society. Cooperative society. And what's a cooperative society? It's a business organization owned and managed by people with like mind. That they form an association together. They come together to protect their business interests with the aim of what helping one another. So it is such a way that they are the association of people with an interest of what protecting one another in order to increase their welfare. That is the cooperative society. We have the producers cooperative society, we have the consumer cooperative society, we have the retail cooperative society. What is the producers cooperative society? These are a group of producers who decide to come together in order to ensure that they purchase goods, raw materials in large quantity and at a reduced price. So when producers come together to purchase goods in large quantity in order to reduce the cost, we call that producers cooperative society. Then we also have the wholesalers cooperative society, where different wholesalers also come together to purchase goods from the manufacturers in large quantity at a reduced price in order to share it among themselves. It's what we call the wholesalers cooperative society. And we also have the retail, which is the same definition, but this time around you just use the retailers to come together to purchase goods as well. Then lastly, we have the consumers cooperative society, where you have business and consumers who decide to join resources together to buy in bulk from the wholesalers and decide to share it amongst themselves. We refer to that as the consumers cooperative society. It has certain advantages and it also has certain disadvantages. What are the advantages? Of course, one of the advantages is that they are after their welfare. 2, there's an increase in the standard of living. 3, they purchase goods in large quantity and sell and distribute to themselves in low quantity. 4, they inform themselves on the event of what is happening to society. And they are always abreast of what is happening so that any of them who fall victim is always assisted. 5, it encourages savings. By doing this thing, it's encouraging saving. C is democratic in nature. One person, one vote, and that is the advantage of the cooperative society. Then the disadvantage includes the following. You just realize that the disadvantage of the cooperative society includes one way or the other is that they are. Almost everybody will not be involved in doing the same thing and may not be helpful. So most of the people involved in it are illiterate, professional qualification. You just realize that most of them are illiterate and there's usually a problem. 5.3, it can also lead to embezzlement of funds. Most of the people who get themselves involved in this cooperative society end up crying that their money has been embezzled by a member and absconded. And as a result of that, because there's lack of literacy. And besides that, there's lack of documentation. You just bring your money together, and there's lack of documentation. And this is a problem associated with this aspect. So I want to believe that with what we have said, we can do justice to the sole proprietorship, partnership, the private limited liability company, the public limited liability company, the public corporation, and the cooperative society. So till seeing in our next class, I want to wish you success in your academic endeavor and stay safe. Thank you.